Hey everybody, welcome back to Direct Edition, a podcast about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Dave. Yeah, me. Today, my guest is returning. If you remember, I posted the interview with Chip Zdarsky kind of at the beginning of this podcast. I had him on over on my other channel, West Coast Davengers, and he returns. And he returns to talk about his new run on Captain America. He's starting with the Italian artist Valerio Schiti. We discussed how to try to say his name in the podcast. And we also get to talk about his now Eisner-nominated monthly free newsletter or zine called Zdarsky Comic News, which about a year ago, comic shops started carrying. And I really get to dive into kind of his process behind that and the work he puts into it and what he wants it to do and the things that he hopes for it in the future, as well as kind of connecting the dots through fanzines in comics from, all the way back when to now, which is why I invited him on again. I mean, I also invited him on because he's just a nice Canadian fellow. We also we share some good jokes and talk about the state of comics, and it's a very engaging, flowing conversation. Somebody who deals with writing words all the time. He also likes talking, and I really appreciate the time that Chip gave me, and I hope you enjoy listening to this, and you can take that to the bank by going to pick up his new Captain America book, which is in stores now. The first issue came out this past Wednesday, so you can go visit your LCS, and you can also ask them to order Zdarsky Comic News. And if you're in the Vancouver area, July 12th, Chip will be at Golden Age Collectibles doing a signing, and you can say, hey, I really enjoyed listening to you talk with Dave, and he'll be like, who? Be like, the Dave Avenger guy, and he'll be like, who? Anyway. And if you're coming over from the West Coast Avengers, because I posted a preview of this interview, about a 17-minute snippet, well, thank you for being here. You're getting the whole thing. So sit back and relax and listen to me talking to the man who's going to make America great again. Captain America. Chip Zdarsky. Take it away. Today, I have a returning guest, and I have to apologize. The last time he was here, my producer gave me a note calling him a sex criminal, and I had to fire Jerry. So I did hire a new producer. Thank you so much, Gary. But the note that he gave me is that my guest today, Chip Zdarsky, is going to make America great again, which I don't really agree with this, but...
Oh, God.
Hold on. Gary! He's going to make Captain America great again. That's what this is all about.
First of all, how can you make the greatest country in the world great again? It's already the greatest.
Well, you're Canadian.
Huge flaw in that plan.
Well, I mean, I guess if anybody's going to make America great again, it's Canada. But we're talking about Captain America as well as your awesome zine, Zdarsky Comic News. I'm talking to award-winning cartoonist, all-around good guy, and the person who says, hey, Jack Kirby, hold my fucking beer, Chip Zdarsky.
I don't like any of what you said. But I got to live with it. That's
I did pay you to be here today, so
yeah, exactly.
This is called Comic Cameo, except it's a full-length interview.
Yeah, because we need the money, man.
No, but for real, Chip, how are you doing? And congrats on all of the success you've had recently, but especially the Eisner nom for Zdarsky Comic News.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Very unexpected. I thought you had to submit. Like I thought Eisner, you had to submit your book to have it nominated, or your publisher had to. So I did not do that because why would I? And then that announcement came out. I was like, oh, that's a huge mistake.
I mean, you are self-publishing it, so it is pretty amazing to see that it's getting nominated. Like, I guess we could start off with that, and then we'll get into Captain America, because right after, it was maybe like a month after I interviewed you last. The first issue of Zdarsky Comic News came out, which is like your kind of an ode to multiple things, fanzines, and also like Comic Buyer's Guide and Comic Buyer News that we used to get in shops when we were young for free.
Yeah, and Wizard.
Yeah.
Some of that feel. Yeah, I mean, it started off as a joke. Like most things, it kind of spiraled out of control. Yeah, because that first issue was like at 4 pages, and it was just all about me, and that's the joke, right? Like, screw the internet, I'm just gonna put this in comic shops. Yeah, and then I just enjoyed doing it, and so now it's like 16 pages, and just talking to a bunch of creators and doing fun stuff, and yeah, there you go, all about manga. It's still a focus on me, obviously, based on that cover, but yeah, it's weird how it just kind of kept going, and we got like people helping me with it, and yeah, weird.
Yeah, you have an advertiser that's interviewing you right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, thank you very much for your support. But I actually have a guy now who like handles all the ads for me, Adam Freeman, who's been kicking around the industry for a while. Smart guy, and yeah, he handles all the distribution and printing and ad stuff, because that was killing me. Like by issue 7, I was like, oh, I got to keep track of all of this. Like it was just too much. It was too much. Like it actually hit a point where, yeah, it was issue 7. It was the Scott Snyder issue where before that I started taking ads, and that was great. Like, I love convincing people to advertise with me. but the follow up was horrendous.
Sure.
Like having to send out contracts and like chase people for payment and chase people for their ads. I'm just like, oh man, this is a whole other job. And by issue 7, I was getting ready to kind of like finish it. And I was like, oh, I forgot to get ads.
Yeah.
It was like the one issue where I was like, I just forgot. I was just like, I was so busy with everything else, I forgot to actually get ads. So that was another 4-pager. And I was like, oh, okay, I got to change something. And so by issue 8, I brought on Adam, and we were bumped up to 16 pages, and we've been there ever since.
No, so, yeah. and it's great to see the growth of it. I mean, it's something that I think not just, the comics industry, if we want to call it that, but comic shops have been missing. It's, especially with Diamond, plunging into the depths of nothingness, you're going to lose a lot of those free, pamphlets and catalogs and stuff. But to have something that's focused on not just you, but, like all the things you do, but also including other creators. And I bring it back to fanzines because of that, because you're interviewing people, except, this most recent one where you interview a guy with their same name, which is you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and like, I think it's important to have something in comic shops that is entertaining, that also convinces people to buy stuff while they're in the shop. Yeah, because it's weird, I get some pushback from some retailers, like, oh, because we went from packs of 10 to packs of 25, because it just made economic sense and just gets more copies out there. And, cut back on the price for the retailer per issue. But, I had some people complaining, like, I can't stock this now. I'm like, it's like $3 for you to stock it, and you get 25 of these, and if you can convert one person to buy something on your shelf, it's so worth it. So yeah, it's a weird one. Like, some people have jumped fully on board. We got some retailers that are ordering like thousands of copies of these things, and then awesome. We got retailers that like aren't. I understand times are tough, but it's also like everyone's taking a risk here. Everyone's trying to get people in stores, and if you don't think it's worth it, obviously don't order it. But like, I think it's worth it, obviously.
I think, well, in general, obviously, we know business, you have to take risks, but the fact that it is not just an advertisement scene, it's got personality, and it's possibly the funniest thing that is on the shelves every week. I'd love to just read just a tiny little bit. So you write this little editorial, Lights, Camera, and Slab, and you definitely poke a little fun at the spec market, which is something that I poke at all the time. But you talk about CGC grading, you talk, what's the next move? With pristine movie tickets, collectors will go crazy once they realize that the ticket process can have value. Sure, a 3DX Toledo afternoon screening of Thor 1 Volume 3 is worth 30 when graded at a 9.7, but an opening night London ticket IMAX 9.8, baby, you gotta slab that. I mean, this is hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah, every issue, it's like I got to send it to press. I'm like, oh, what am I going to write about this month? Oh, God, I don't know. Jesus. Yeah, no, it's super fun. And next issue, Ryan Stegman takes over.
Oh,
And,
Christ.
yeah, I know, it's a bit of a problem. We'll
Have you-
see. Yeah, he's already. I mean, between you and me, he's fucked up already, like so many times on this thing. Like, if it actually comes out, I'll be surprised.
Have you figured out how to finally kind of just get rid of him after this? Like, do you have a
I
plan to
think,
get rid of Stegman?
well, that's what this is. Like, I think I'm giving him enough rope to hang himself. Like the stuff he's writing about, I'm just like, oh, sure, yeah, you want to be canceled? That's fine by me. Yeah, you want to never work in this industry again? Sure, yeah, you can print that.
Well, that's
I wipe my hands of it.
and that's like your master plan with ZCN is to end Stegman.
Yeah, that's been all along. It's Chip all along. That's the new Marvel series.
I do think that there is definitely some, just thinking about, like the editorial about the collector market, there's definitely something about this that I'm enjoying collecting it. Like I get from your Substack digitally, but I'm actually missing the Chip making out with Batman issue.
Oh, the variant
I
one.
feel like a lot of people may have not stocked that for whatever reasons they may find, but
Oh God. Yeah, I like having the physical copies. Like,
yeah.
I don't really have extras at home, but I get one for every issue, so I can make sure it's printed. And I kind of got them together with a bulldog clip. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool to have this hefty thing after a year doing it. Like, yeah,
it is, and it takes me back to I talk a lot on podcast Direct Edition about fanzine and fanzine culture, and this is one of those things where there's got to be somebody picking this up, every month, not maybe being introduced to a creator like Cody Ziegler or or who else do we got on there? We got James Tynion, and well, if you don't know who he is, I think you haven't figured out what comics are doing in the last 10 years.
Yeah, the Dennis Camp and Eve Ewing. Those were fun interviews. Yeah, I've got Ryan North and Jeff Lemire in the next one. Like it's fun. It's fun kind of talking to my contemporaries.
Does it help you flex your old kind of journalistic muscles, back when you were working for the paper?
Yeah, for sure. 100%. This is kind of everything I've learned over the past 20 years is kind of being distilled into this weird zine. Because, I mostly did design and illustration and graphics at the newspaper. But once in a while I would interview people and do actual reporting. So yeah, it's kind of everything, all of it in there. Like the page you held up with the lights, camera, slab or whatever, like at the bottom, it's a graph. It's a graphic about Ultimate Universe and Absolute titles. And I did research, I just went through and I checked every month and counted the number of titles just because I personally wanted to see it kind of laid out that way. And I just love doing stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it probably
it's a niche I haven't scratched in so long. Once in a while I get to do something like when X-Men were doing data pages, I got to do data pages for my Fantastic Four X-Men series. I'm like, oh man, I miss this. I miss doing maps and charts and graphs and kind of just visualizing data is it's my passion.
Sure.
It's just a weird thing to say, but yeah. Any opportunity I can do it in ZCN, I do it.
That I completely understand that, and in a little bit of different way I can relate to it is I enjoy editing. I enjoy editing video. I really do, and it satisfies a piece of my brain that doesn't get satisfied doing anything else.
It's weird. I don't know. I wish I had more lifetimes because I love editing video as well. I do double YouTube videos once in a while, and man, I just wish I had time to do all of it. Being a jack of all trades, master of none is an unfortunate thing for the psyche because you're just all you want to do is a bunch of stuff. Whereas if you're just master one thing, you just focus. I am a writer and I do this.
Right.
Great. I kind of wish that was how my brain worked.
I feel a very kindred spiritness to that because it's I love interviewing, I love editing, but I also love reading and I love collecting comics and talking about them. Yeah. And it's you try to do all these things. It's I'm going to make that into a reel.
There you go.
Have you seen effects of your books, maybe like, numbers of sales rising since this? Like, have you been able to chart that at all?
It's a weird thing because like I've been doing this during a period where I haven't had much coming out. Because Batman was kind of winding down, and Batman never needs a sales bump, really. Like,
Right.
I don't think Batman's going to get a big ZCN bump. And like creator-owned stuff has all been kind of not pushed back, but like I don't know. Time Waits did okay with Distillery,
Yeah.
so there's probably an effect there, but I don't have anything to compare it to, and I've got upcoming Distillery stuff that hasn't come out yet, so it's hard to say. Yeah,
Maybe
maybe
in a year you'll have better numbers.
Maybe, but even still, you have to compare it to the rest of the industry, and I don't know what individual titles are doing. So, like, if mine went up, maybe it's because the industry's going up, or maybe because people like me or something like that. But yeah, no, it's such a hard thing. It's a vibe, right? Like, it's like I will say at comic conventions, people are bringing ZCN to get signed, and they're saying, "Oh, I found out about this in here."
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, even if it's not mine, it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like, people actually finding out about books. And we're doing this retailer thing too. Steve Anderson of Third Eye is doing like his kind of hot 5 list at the back.
And so are you.
So am I. Yeah. Weirdly, it's all my Howard the Duck issues. But I love that too. Like, because there is a different market of like people who just want what's cool, whether it's the speculator side or just wants to know what's cool, to read what's cool. And Steve's really good at kind of handling that side of things. That's been fun too.
Yeah, and they're one of the biggest stores in the country. If maybe they are the biggest store in the country.
It's the best comic shop in the world. Like I went and did a signing there, a couple of months ago, and Steve took me on the tour of. Like every time I go, like his empire's expanded, and he took me on a tour of his facilities. I'm just like, this is insane. Like it's just like there's so much passion put into this, and he gets his readers just so amped up about stuff. Like I wish I could just kick open the door of every comic shop and be like, "We got to clone Steve and get him in here to show you that you're trying to sell stuff. You're not just sitting here just like put the comics on the shelf, sit back, complain about what's on the shelf." Like, I've encountered too many bad retailers over the years.
It's something I did a retailer roundtable twice in the last year, and I don't know if you've ever heard of comics place up in Bellingham, but you're actually not too far from them. I would put them as the best comic store on the West Coast. Like they are passionate about what they do. They send a newsletter. They invented a POS system for other comic stores to adopt, and like they're a store that champions comics and gets people to read what they love.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important. It's such an important part of the process. I've encountered more good shops than bad, which is nice. Though everyone can learn. I mean, every creator can learn to how to better create and sell comics. But it's inspiring when you find the good ones.
Well, it's one of the things that you said when we talked last that really stuck with me. Like I've probably quoted you, paraphrased you for the last year a whole bunch of times about, is how you said to me, with the comic industry and like how you do all these interviews. It's not because you really want to spend your day doing interviews, but it's like, how else are you going to get the word out there? Because there is no industry standard anymore. And with Zdarsky Comic News, like I see what you said, you put it into print form. And it's such a great marketing tool, not just for you, but for everybody that you're talking about or talking to.
And it's the kind of thing, I mean, I think every creator kind of hits a point where they're just like, oh, I just don't want to like talk about the work anymore. I just want to put the work out and just be a recluse or whatever, Yeah, I mean, Hickman's a little bit like that. Like it's very rare that he does an interview. He can just sell kind of on the strength of his name, which is great. But even he will do once in a while. But I remember just seeing Margaret Atwood at San Diego Comic-Con, like shaking hands and kissing babies, selling Angel Catbird. And it's like, oh yeah, no, it doesn't matter what level you're at. Like Margaret Atwood, even if, you can see interviews where she's a little bit bristly or whatever. Like I've interviewed her before and, it's very daunting. But she pounds the pavement. She sells the work. Like they all do. Like no matter how, like, off-putting a personality an author might be. I can think of a few novelists who are just like, they put out a novel every 10 years and they're grumpy in all their interviews, but they're doing the interviews. Like
Sure.
they're getting the press because they know that's such a huge part of it. The book tours and the readings and things like that. And sometimes you lose sight of it in comics because you think, the name of the character is going to sell the book alone, which sometimes it does. But yeah, you still gotta do it.
You have to remind people that those books are still coming out too. I mean, there are people that have no clue. And then when, with creator-owned stuff, it's extremely important to get out there because, I mean, even a guy, you mentioned authors, and I was thinking about how, like, maybe in the last 20 years, I think we've seen more Stephen King out there, like interviews and having columns and op-eds and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, he doesn't want you to ever forget who he is.
No. And I think it's always been the case. Like, yeah, it's obviously a very important part, especially now with social media being so fractured and horrible, and it's definitely more difficult for people to kind of get out there and spread the word. And sometimes you just feel too old to do it. Like, I'm not on TikTok. I can't do TikTok. And I know I'd sell more. I know I'd sell more if I did certain things. And it's a weird balancing act between like how much of myself do I want to give over time and your soul versus what you're going to get back. And I find I'm happier making less money, selling less books, and not being on social media and just kind of doing the things I want to do, like an interview like this or ZCN. That's kind of my trade-off.
And I think conversation is, I mean, it's important for so many reasons, but the reason why I do it is because I think it just, we're not going to go too personal, right? I'm not going to ask you about, last, bowel movement you had, but I think there's... I
mean, it was great. It was like 2 hours ago.
But it connects people to the person that's writing the thing that they're really enjoying. And, we talked a lot about Sex Criminals last time. And I think, like when people read that, they feel like they know you two in a different way, even though they don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of us in it, obviously. There's a public persona and then there's the private persona. Like, I've got a real name and I've got a fake name, and there's a reason for that. It's so funny. Like sometimes, and I've had this conversation with like writers and artists before, like where I'll say that there are artists on Twitter who post a lot on Twitter.
Right.
And I will never work with them because of their posts on Twitter.
That's a big,
not just thing. The content of them, which I, for the most part, find abhorrent.
Yeah.
Just the rank stupidity of people when they just feel like they should say whatever they want. And they spend all their time on Twitter, so I'm not going to see pages from them.
Yeah.
So like, there's a bunch of stuff there. Like, I already know you're probably unprofessional, like based on the things you're saying about other creators or hot button topics. I'm just like, they don't realize they're damaging themselves. They think they're promoting themselves, but really they're just addicted to this machine. And then they're just like screwing themselves over eventually because editors are seeing it like, oh, okay, they took a swipe at this person for no reason. All right, why would I want to work with them?
Yeah, or they said this abhorrently like misogynistic or racist thing, and they think that it's okay because it's on social media. It's like, well, that's you get to stew in that.
On both sides too, even left or right. Like I can just be like, oh my god, like just shut the fuck up. Like, what are you doing? Just get to work. Just do something with your life. Like, you're not doing anything you're not changing anything.
You're not going to change people's minds.
Go help at the local homeless shelter. Like, I'll do something.
Yeah.
Anyways, we like to trick ourselves into thinking we're actually affecting change using these machines that are designed to outrage people so they can get ad revenue. I sound like a crazy person, I know, but like,
no, you don't.
Look at this world.
I have to push back against it too, because like as somebody that posts on YouTube and Spotify and these things with podcasts, I have to figure out the balance between like, how do I get people to watch this, but also not sound like a complete fucking asshole in the thumbnail or the title, like to get meta with it. If I didn't actually care about you as a person, the title of this thumbnail would say, Chip Zdarsky is making America great again. And then maybe in little letters, Captain. But I like, but that's going to get, that'll get people looking at it, but will it, do you justice? But anyway, getting back to ZCN, anybody that you like, if you living obviously, but anybody that you would love to have on the cover as an interview that, like maybe is like a bucket list type thing for you going forward?
Yeah, I don't know. Not really. I'd love to talk to Bendis. I've been kind of like poking around to see if I could do something with him. Yeah, I keep thinking Hickman, but like he probably won't do it. So I'll just get AI to write a Hickman YouTube for me. I think he'd appreciate that. I think that'll be my plan. Yeah, no, that's hard to say. Like, there's some like, big names from the past, Walt Simonson, Anna Senti, Frank Miller, but I also want to be able to tie it into something that they're putting out.
Sure.
Because that's kind of my big thing. I want people to read an interview, and be able to turn to their comic store employee manager and be like, "Oh, I want this book," and be able to get it, or like it's going to be out next week, or something very close to purchase.
You do a good job with it. I mean, I didn't know Cody at all. I mean, I knew the name, but I didn't know Cody, and I read that, and I was like, all right, I'm excited to read some of his work now.
Yeah, Cody's great. Yeah, I've met him in the Marvel room, like the big kind of writer's room with editors. Like Cody's been there the past few times. And, like, great, super smart, great ideas. I like Cody a lot.
And then I did want to ask about fanzines in general, because we talked about message boards last time and how you got your start. Did you do any fanzine or, participate in any fanzine stuff when you were younger in Canada?
In high school, I made a fanzine called Sassy, in which I basically just told all my friends, I'm like, submit something, I'll print it. Like, I'll design it, I'll print it, like, whatever. And so I did, and a lot of it was maybe not suitable content to be out in public. And so I did like 3 issues of that. And my parents were really supportive. My dad worked at a place with a photocopier, so he photocopied it all, and they'd help me like put it together and put it out there. And then, there was a teacher that found it and took issue with it. And it started a whole thing where just a whole bunch of us were called into the principal's office. And I took the fall for it all, because they basically asked me, so you print this? And I'm like, yeah. Like, who writes for it? I'm like, it's all me. I do everything in it, like every article, every
drawing. That's really cool that you did that.
And they're like, so even this thing, this kind of feminist screed about nipples, this is you? I'm like, yeah, that's me. Just trying on a persona. They knew I was lying. Like, no way. And so I took the fall for it, and then I got suspended for, I believe, 3 days.
Oh,
and my parents couldn't say anything about it because they fucking helped me put it together. And put it
out. Sure.
So I basically had 3 days off where I just hung out at home and watched TV, and I was like a hero in my school for a brief shining moment. That was awesome. That was awesome. I guess it must have given me a taste for zines and being a public figure and
and putting your sense of humor there on the line, and everybody else's sense of humor there on the line.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody has a copy of Sassy, please send it. You can message me and I'll give you my my PO box.
God, I wish I had a copy, or maybe I don't. Like, it was definitely some stuff that was, beyond the pale, as they would say.
Yeah, but you'd probably cringe read it and then like burn it in an effigy.
I think one of my friends put in a recipe for laughing gas. I guess it's dangerous. It's actually a dangerous publication.
It's the Anarchist Cookbook Canadian edition.
Yeah.
I do love talking about fanzines, though, and going back. I interviewed Stan Sakai a couple weeks ago, and we talked about his participation in fanzines in the late 70s, where he was drawing characters and doing stuff that he would never touch again.
Yeah.
But such an important part of the growth of comics. And one of the biggest things is San Diego Comic-Con doesn't exist without fanzines.
No, that's true. Yeah. That's wild.
And it's one of the things that I think, and maybe you'll agree with me, being somebody that's really in the know of fandom and stuff like that. I think fandom has gotten a bad rap in the last like 10 years versus what it was when we were younger. And I want to try and take that back. And that's the idea of me as a fan interviewing people I want to talk to, but not being like, who do you think would win in a fight, Captain America or Batman?
Yeah, I mean, I remember remember the Revenge of the Nerds series of movies?
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a photo of the main actor from that, the main nerd, and what he looks like now. And he looks like Steve Jobs. I was just like, oh yeah, of course. Like, why? We should pitch a Revenge of the Nerds movie where the nerds have won, and it's the jocks that are the underdogs, and they have to like unseat these guys from their insane powers. Like nerds took over. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like fandom and nerds basically run it all and are in charge of entertainment and yeah, hasn't necessarily worked out that well. I don't think.
No,
So yeah,
certain aspects it has, and certain aspects it definitely hasn't.
yeah. So yeah, it would be yeah.
I think
There's
a guy
there's a lot to unpack in that.
yeah, I think a guy like perfect example is the nerds have won it, and it's good as James Gunn. I think he is a shining example of somebody who is like respects the medium that all of the stuff he's making movies about came from, and wants to like appeal to both the normal people who are just moviegoers and the people like us who have been reading comics since we were kids.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like even like the cult of personalities that kind of rise around him, like online fans trying to tear him down and stuff, or even to prop him up. Like there's assholes everywhere. Like you just can't get around it. And they're all nerds. They're all like fans. But if they're coming in being like, Snyder cut rules or whatever, and doing weird hate campaigns and stuff like that, like, it's unavoidable.
Yeah,
unavoidable because we all have a voice now for good or ill.
It's true. That's true. And I know you battle with that, it's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, and I mean this at like the core level, because I joke around about myself 98% of the time that I'm breathing.
Sure.
Do you ever find that you're like getting tired of the character that you're writing about in the ZCN, you obviously being that character?
No, but it's harder. It's harder to write the character of Chip Zdarsky from a place of success.
Yeah.
I realized that a few years ago. This is well before I was working on Batman. I was doing Daredevil, and I forget, like, I think Reed Conventions asked me if I wanted to do a panel and like create my own panel. I'm like, oh, it'd be funny if I did a panel where it was just like me trying to convince everyone that I should write Batman, in which I was going to do a PowerPoint presentation. I bring like Scott Snyder on stage, and he'd just be like, no, we can't have you do this. And like, basically all these famous Batman related people coming on stage and just shooting down all my ideas. And like, it would be funny. It would be fun. But also I'm just like,
sure.
I'm like, but it's not as funny because it was possible. Like I'd already written Spider-Man and Daredevil and all these books. Like there was a possibility of that I would write Batman one day. So like I can't pretend to be the loser anymore that wouldn't get those opportunities. And sure enough, I ended up writing Batman. Like so it was probably a good idea I didn't do that. So it gets harder in that sense, like to kind of, to play up my kind of loserish qualities, fictional or real. Because nobody likes someone who's successful pretending that they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for good or ill, I'm successful. Like I'm doing the job, and I rarely get fired.
Rarely.
And I can pay my mortgage and my bills, and anybody at a certain level in comics is successful. And fellow comic creators and the Stegmans and stuff, like we can have a little back and forth where I'm a loser, but ultimately I'm doing the job, so it's hard to kind of it's hard to keep writing myself as an absolute tool. I'm a tool in other ways, but I'm not a loser tool, I guess.
You tell us that you frolic naked in the woods, the week that Captain America comes out. I mean, like I find it funny because you don't overdo it. And that's one of the things that I really love about ZCN also is what I said about text criminals. You fill up every page, and whether it's with something that you're doing like a advertisement or a interview, or just that bunch of jokes just scattered throughout on the pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love it.
I am running out of them for sure. Like, it gets harder to write the cover taglines every issue. Like, it's like it takes me longer to write those than it does to illustrate the covers.
Sure.
Like, I illustrate the cover, no problem. It's very automatic for me. And then I sit there, I'm like, okay, what do I have to say about comics this month? I don't know. What joke? Yeah, tricky.
I love that. Before we start talking about Cap, I did find it a little weird that, you talk about this series that you had with Distillery that came out this year, but on the first issue of ZCN, it says Tom Waits. And so I was just trying to figure out, like, what is it with your obsession with Tom Waits? You wrote a book about him with David Brothers.
All right, this interview's over.
I did promise Deborah I wouldn't do it, but I had to.
Oh God, now she's fired too. Everyone's fired.
I did love that series, and I really enjoyed. And I did not realize, because I haven't dove down the path of Mangasplaining, which is the podcast that you do with David and a few other hosts.
Sorry. Yeah.
And but the cool connection is also you getting a thank you in Search and Destroy with the rest of the Mangasplaining crew and somebody that I'm friends with, Aki Yanagi.
Okay, nice, yeah.
Yeah, and before we talk, or after we talked last year, I ended up going to Japan for the first time, and Aki was such a gracious host. So with Mangasplaining and all that, like, can you break it down for everybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so the kind of early pandemic project was... well, just before the pandemic, I went to Tokyo with some friends. I was a guest at Tokyo Comic Con, and a bunch of my kind of manga loving friends were planning a trip. So we all did it together, and we were kind of touring around, and they were bringing me to all of these kind of like manga hotspots, like galleries and museums and stores, and I was just hopelessly confused by all of it. Like, I knew a little bit about manga, but like not really enough to appreciate what we were seeing. Like, we went to a whole building, a museum dedicated to a bug who rides a motorcycle, like Kamen Rider. I'm like, oh, this is insane. Every time I walk around the corner and there's another like snippet of or a statue of this bug on a motorcycle, I'm like, how is this a thing? So at some point on that trip, I made a joke that like, all my manga expert friends should teach me about manga, and we'll call it Mangasplaining. And we all laughed. Oh yeah, maybe. And then the pandemic hit. It was like, what perfect time. Like, we're all locked indoors. So let's do this. And so we've done 100 plus episodes. Basically 100 plus manga series, at least a volume of each. And I'm no longer the newbie. Like, I know enough about it. I can hold a conversation for the most part. But yeah, out of that, like, sprung Mangasplaining Extra, which is the imprint of the book you just held up, which kind of publishes with other publishers like Fantagraphics and Udon. And Chris, one of the hosts, and his husband Andrew, they run that, and Deb helps with that. And it's so cool to just see the kind of the ramifications of the podcast out in the world, like the fact that they're being able to translate some really cool material as a result of it all.
What a fantastic book, Search and Destroy.
I don't see a dime from it. There is that problem. But, besides that, I'm fine.
Comics will break your heart. He said it.
Yeah, break your wallet.
Yeah, your wallet and bankrupt you. But it is, I was learning a lot over the last year and a half. I have a friend, you may know who he is. His name's Sean. He goes by Japan Book Hunter. He has a YouTube channel, but he is an American that's been living in Japan for 20 plus years. And he does what I do. He hunts rare books and sells them. And he's taught me so much. And yeah, I was there for 3 weeks last year. I mean, I was in Amandarake every day. I was going, to bookstores. It's something that I've said a bunch of times to different people when I talk about Japan. If North America, let's just say North America, if they adopted the love for the comics culture, just 1% of what Japan does, it would lift the entire industry so much.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of differences and a lot of obstacles to overcome for that to happen. just based on my kind of observations, like the speed at which they put out these manga series, because there's more of a culture of kind of a studio culture, assistant culture. I think because there's less ego involved, maybe. I think North American creators, there's a lot of ego. So the idea of like being, background artist number 3 on something, like that doesn't appeal to anyone. Whereas there, it's like, oh no, this is part of the process, and then maybe one day I do my own thing. So the output is far greater, and then just the genres available are so much wider. Like that was a big discovery I had reading all this manga. It was like, oh my god! Like if someone's interested in ping pong, they do a manga on ping pong. If they're interested in like disc jockeys, they do a manga about disc jockeys. It's like, or rice. I read a whole volume of a thing about rice. Like, whereas in North America, I'd say kind of the image model. Most books are just like, what if this met this? What if it's superheroes meet zombies? What if it's aliens meets cowboys, or whatever? Like we're kind of mashing up genres instead of just kind of telling the stories that we want to tell, or just that spring out of our interests. Which is why I started doing public domain, because that was kind of my thing. I was like, oh, I'm actually interested in comics and comic history and the people behind the comics. So, that's a direct result of Mangasplaining.
And what public domain is such a great book. Is it coming back?
Yeah, I've been working on it. It's been a little tricky just because I'm writing a lot right now for a variety of people, and public domain takes up a lot of time and makes me little money, so it's a little tricky. But yeah, every kind of spare moment, I keep plugging away at it. I just want to get it all done before I start soliciting it, so it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I finished through the 2 trades right here, and it's different for you, and that's why I really like it. It feels a little more personal without being about you.
Yeah. I mean, almost all the fiction I consume is just about people. Like there's no sci-fi or fantasy element or superhero element to it. Like, I often tell my friends that my favorite genre of novel is New York couple getting divorced. I don't know. They're all kind of real life, kind of slice of life stories. And so I wanted to kind of do that in this, just tell a story about kind of just genuine, real people. Yeah, it's been fun, but it's a lot of work.
Well, I recommend. I mean, my back wall right here is recommends, and I
look at that.
This is I just sit here all day and I just stare. I'm just like,
what turn around, look at the wall.
yeah. So getting into making Captain America great again. So you are taking on the mantle of Captain America, which is pretty interesting because you just, a year away from Avengers Twilight, which was a fantastic story, and you got the final Cap story, but we're going back to the beginning. So the art's done by Valerio, is it Schiti?
Your guess is as good as mine. I keep saying Schiti. But I might be mispronouncing it. I mean, I worked with Marco for years on Daredevil. I couldn't tell you how to pronounce his last name.
Cicchetto?
Cicchetto or Cacchetto? I don't know.
Cacchetto and Schiti. I think...
I know. I kind of lean into the hard K sound. Because I like Marco Cacchetto. Valerio Schiti. But I don't know.
Was Cap on your list of books that you've wanted to write for a long time?
Yeah, when C.B. Zdarsky came on board at Marvel, I think he messaged every kind of writer that was like on contract with Marvel at the time, just to get their top 3 list. Like if these titles became available, this is what you'd want. And I gave him my 3 titles. One was Daredevil, and the other was Captain America, and then the third one I won't say because I haven't done it yet.
Right.
So those are I had a top 3 and Cap was on it. So it's definitely a thrill.
And it's been a while because I went back and listened to our last interview, and you had dropped a little hint. You were rereading the Mark Grunwald Cap run, doing research. And at the time, I had no clue. I just didn't think about what you said. But and I know you're a big fan of his writing in that run. Is it something that you really leaned on for your run to try and just do your own story, but kind of Grunwald it?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely my touchstone because it's the comic that I grew up with, the run I grew up with. I noped out a little bit when Cap Wolf happened, but a part of just me kind of moving on to other things. I came back in pretty full force with the Brubaker run, and then
Right.
Wade and Samney, or Wade and Garney. I mean, yeah. But the Grunwald one, like, really hit me hard. Like, just that kind of questioning hero. Cap kind of on the road, growing a beard, like just being like, I'm not Captain America. Who am I?
Yeah.
I really, really dug that stuff, and I thought the John Walker stuff was amazing.
Sure.
And one of my favorite parts about rereading, and I probably mentioned it last time, was just the letters pages.
Yep, you did mention that.
Yeah, just vicious.
Vicious. It's something that I typically look at too on old books, is the letters column.
Yeah, it's a real insight into like what stands the test of time too, because like, that John Walker story is like, they made a whole TV show out of it, and people look back and go, oh, that's like in the top 3 or 4 kind of best Cap storylines, and at the time it was like 95% hatred. Like, you just can't, you can't kowtow to the reader's demands in the moment because they just don't see the full story.
So I know that we're not going to talk spoilers on Cap. It comes out. It's already out. First issue's out as this comes out. But I know it's a story of like right when he comes out of the ice, and there's Doom. Is that what I've heard you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the solicits and stuff, so I stopped kind of dancing around it. But yeah, it's about their first encounter with him out of the ice, because my kind of idea was that when Steve Rogers went in the ice and then woke up, no time had passed. Like, he basically fell asleep and then woke up. So he's still a soldier. Like, he was a soldier 2 hours ago. He's still a soldier. So he goes back to base. He goes back to the U.S. Army before he joins the Avengers. And the Army has a mission for him. And it's this new upstart dictator in Latveria named Victor Von Doom. And so that becomes his first mission. So it's like, he went to sleep fighting Hitler, and now there's this seemingly new Hitler on the scene, a guy in Europe who has been doing some nasty things and have been popping over to America to beat up the Fantastic Four. Maybe it's time to take him out.
It's a good way to approach it. I mean, like, when you think about it, you're not retelling anything. You're just telling something in between the lines, stuff that, and then I know going forward, I assume it's going to be set in present time, but we'll wait until that actually comes out to find out.
Yeah, I mean, I can say for certain that, like, the first arc is set in this period, and the second arc is set in modern day. Okay. But they connect, so it's not like it's just a one-off story, and then we do a modern story. Like, it's
right.
This leads into that, so yeah.
Cool. And so we talked about Valerio as the artist, but you did a variant cover for the first one, another great chip design. I just wanted to show that off real quick because I think people really enjoy seeing it. Oh. Sorry, wrong one. That's the one. There
you go. Those same proportions. If you turn to the side,
if you turn to the side, he's got this going on. But are you going to be doing, just going forward? Are you doing covers for each issue?
I did covers for the first 5.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Sweet. I really wanted to kind of like, take my stab at it, and so. Yeah. The first 5, we haven't talked about doing anything beyond that. I might, but I feel very satisfied with the ones that I did. The issue 4 cover should be coming out soon, and it's one of my favorites. Sweet. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know we talked last time about your obviously being design oriented, but also like your itch to do something to satisfy that. I did want to I wanted to mention and then also lead into this. So you're the first Canadian to write Cap. Only the third non-American. It was Gibbons. Or no, Gibbons didn't write it. Gibbons drew
Gibbons
it.
did. Gibbons wrote
Oh,
it.
he did.
Yeah, he wrote
And
a
then,
couple of issues.
and who was the other one? It was, I mean, I can't remember who the other one is.
I
It's
did a
another
graphic
Brit.
on it in the upcoming.
Yes, I know you did, and that's where I'm reading it off of.
Yeah.
But
Even I've forgotten. Paul Jenkins?
James Robinson.
James Robinson, that's it, yeah.
James Robinson. But given the current times that we're living in, and
is something happening?
Yeah, exactly. And you being a neighbor to the north, do you think there's any? Do you think you're bringing a perspective that might be viewed as, not what am I looking to say? Do you think your perspective is going to bring a unique take to Cap, being a Canadian, being 2025, going through all the things, or you think you're just writing a great Cap story?
I mean, yeah, I think no matter where you're coming from, you have a unique perspective. Like if I was American, but I grew up in the South, it'd be different than if I grew up in California or New York City or somewhere like that. Like I consumed so much kind of American culture living across the border, growing up, and like a fan of the Captain America comic as a Canadian. Yeah, I definitely have like kind of big grand ideas about what America stands for, and kind of getting to tackle that in this has been a lot of fun. But also I've been doing a lot of research too, like because even though I took in a lot of American culture, it wasn't necessarily taught to me in school.
Sure.
So been reading some kind of nonfiction books about America and various things they got up to over the past few hundred years.
Yeah, various
couple hundred years here and there. Yeah. So I've been kind of learning as I've been going and preparing for this. And it is obviously a weird time to be writing Captain America. I think there's a comic writer who was just like, he's like, it makes sense you're doing it. Like right now, I don't know if an American can write this.
Sure.
Like, because it's just so kind of fractured right now, and everyone would be
volatile.
Yeah, maybe kind of shell shocked to write the character. But yeah, I see it as an opportunity, and it's been a lot of fun so far. Yeah.
What I love to remind people, and my audience is very much on the same level as me. They see me wearing a shirt like this, and they're happy to see that. One of the things that I love about Cap, it truly, he was created as a propaganda tool, but in the good sense. Like it was one of those rare instances where propaganda was used to give World War II, American soldiers of World War II, something to hope for. And I hope that we all keep that in mind. It's one of the things that I really do harp upon is comics comes from a place of people that were escaping persecution, fighting in wars, all of the above, and I, I don't assume that you're going to do that, but it's just something that I always kind of, we have to keep reminding ourselves about. The Cap was used in this way in the darkest time in the last 150 years of history.
Yeah, it's interesting to write him with the sliding timeline of it all, because there's a difference. Because like when he woke up in the Avengers issue 4, like what, 15 years had passed?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, like not a lot of time, and he's still like a man out of time. But it's a different feeling to wake up 15 years later and find out Bucky died, in that moment, where Bucky could be alive then. He could be a father with some kids, with a wife in the suburbs, living that kind of 1950s, 1960s dream. But to wake up in like 2010 or whatever, like everyone he knows is dead. Like it's just like a totally different place to wake up, and a totally different kind of feeling, and a lot more sci-fi kind of aspect to it. So that's been interesting. Just like kind of thinking about that, setting the first story in that period is like very different than setting it in 1963 or 4 or whatever. Setting it in, again, like 2010 or something. That's been wild.
Yeah, yeah. And, I know a lot of people, including myself, are really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with the fact that Matt Fraction stole Batman? One of your best friends?
You said you weren't going to ask about this. Look, genuinely, like, I'm so fucking excited.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because there were some names kind of bandied about, and when Matt's name came up, I was just like, oh my god, yes, like, it's perfect because like I wanted him to do more kind of more comics.
Sure.
He never fully left comics, but he's definitely obviously taken a kind of a big break doing like TV stuff.
Hmm.
And to come back and do Batman, it's just like it's awesome. And I've read like issue 1 is complete, and I read it, and it's amazing. Definitely better than anything bullshit I was doing. Beyond that, I've read like the first 3 or 4 scripts, and they're
Sure.
great. Like it's a book that like issue 1's amazing, but it kind of keeps getting better.
Hmm.
Um, and like we talk a lot about his plans, and they're super solid. And he's got a good take on the character in Gotham. So it's fantastic. Like I hope he can just like turn off all the noise and just kind of enjoy this and enjoy working with Jorge, which is
Yeah.
itself a treat. Like you know, if they brought him back to just do like Hawkman or something like that, and Jorge was drawing it, it would still be amazing.
Yeah, there's something to be said about, obviously they're doing the Hush 2 thing, but besides that, Jorge is just, it's a long run, which you don't see anymore. I mean,
No, I don't think there's such a thing as a run where it's artist driven. Like
yeah.
it's usually a writer, and then they kind of cycle through a bunch of artists. But to have an artist who was like he was with James, he was with me, and he's with Matt, like that's that's kind of unheard of. I can't
It is.
recall another time where it's just a
Not in
consistent
modern
artist.
history.
No, no,
No.
and he adapts too with each artist or each writer. Like he changed the style slightly for me, and he's changing the style slightly again for Matt. Like he's working with the tone of the book, and yeah, Jorge is unstoppable, and together
Well,
it's amazing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's his good looks that kind of keeps him unstoppable, I think.
yeah, he's total package. Total package.
uh, I
Insane. It's
wanted to
insane.
ask you, you have another book coming out with Distillery soon,
Mhm.
correct? Can
Yeah,
you give us a little bit about that?
yeah. No, it's called White House Robot Romance, and you can definitely tell
So
I've been reading
good.
too much manga. Um, yeah, no, it's with Rachel Stott and Tamara Bonvillain, and it's about 2 robots that work for the White House. One's the private chef for the president, and the other is on Secret Service duty. And it's basically a love story between those robots, and kind of the
Wow.
fallout from that. Uh, so yeah, it's charming as hell because of the art. Like Rachel kills it. Even robots with no
Hmm.
faces have just an amazing expression. Um, yeah, and I like the format. Like Distillery, like the 45 pages to tell an issue is like so ideal. And
Yeah.
then 3 of those, you got a nice collection. You got a nice story at the beginning, middle, and end. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think it's out in September. I know that
September.
because of
Okay.
Diamond shuttering its doors, they've had a bit of trouble with distribution, so they got bumped to September. But yeah, it looks beautiful.
Um, Overall, as somebody that has their hands in a lot of things and is working
They've
for
never proven
himself,
that.
you have so many hands. Actually, you're hiding 3 of them behind your back right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you? What do you feel about the comic industry right now? What do you feel about overall? Like, are you feeling good about it? Are you feeling a little cautious about it with Diamond and all this stuff happening with the distribution shakeup?
Um, I don't know if I even have enough knowledge to answer that. Like, I got caught up in the Diamond thing because ZCN was distributed through them as well. So,
Right.
I am owed some money. Um, I mean, the one thing about comics is it always seems to find a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people were always scared about Diamond going under, but
Sure.
like, it's happened, and comics are still going into shops every week. There's obviously obstacles like printing costs going up, and tariffs, and fractured distribution. Um, So it's harder. It is getting harder and harder to make money on comics. Like I've definitely seen that. I've seen creators like doing image books where it's just like the numbers they're selling are pulling in less dollars versus the numbers they were selling, which is the same, pulling in more money a few years ago. That's a little scary because there's definitely a tipping point where it's like, oh, no one can make a living at this.
Yeah,
we'll be putting it out because we have the passion to put these books out, but like once it hits a point where you can't put out a creator-owned book that's relatively successful and make a living at it, like that's going to be rough. And I think we're moving towards that right now, unfortunately. So yeah, we'll see. Like I'm happy Distillery's publishing this book. I hope it does well. But yeah, it definitely, a lot of the stuff I'm seeing, a lot of the stuff I'm hearing is giving me pause. Doing kind of big creator-owned pushes right now. Like I've got a lot going on at Marvel. I'm always in talks with DC and other companies too. So I'm still producing, but it's harder to justify doing the creator-owned stuff because I don't want to do it and not pay an artist a living wage if I'm writing a thing.
Yeah.
So what that usually means is I go into debt. Like I'm in debt on a bunch of projects because I want to make sure that everyone gets paid well. And they're not taking that kind of risk because I know what it's like for an artist to take a risk. It's different than a writer because a writer can write a bunch of other stuff, but an artist, they're just focusing on one thing. So you can't be like, oh, hey, we're splitting this, 50-50. If it works, it works. You can't do that, I don't think, especially not right now. Which means I have to justify it every time I do a creator on. I'm like, okay, this will make me negative $20,000.
Yikes!
So unless I sell the rights to Netflix or something like that, which can happen, I'm in the hole. And I can afford to take the risk because Marvel pays me well to do the stuff I'm doing there, and my back catalog pays me well across all the publishers, including Image. But yeah, there's a calculus there as to whether or not you can take on a new project.
Do you ever encourage? I mean, I don't. Like you've worked with a varied amount of artists and written for them. Do you encourage them to do traditional so that they have the artwork to sell?
No, I mean, because the trade-off is, and they can't do it fast enough.
Right. I know that
was my thing on Sex Criminals. Like I did it all digitally, because it turned out to be 3 times faster than me doing it my traditional way.
Sure.
Could I have sold all those pages for a lot of money? Yes. Would the book have come out anywhere near on time? No. So we would have lost a lot more money, I think, if I did it traditionally.
That's such a conundrum.
It is. And look, you could put out thousands and thousands of original art pages and still not sell them. Like just because you have the pages doesn't mean they're going to sell at a high price. There's only specific artists or specific projects where that's the case, right?
Yes.
You really have to have a hit with a solid artist for that to kind of benefit you with the original art sales. Like I know some original artists that or a comic artist who have really long runs on stuff, and then you look at the price of their pages, like $50, $70, because they produce so much of it, and none of them feature Batman. So it's like, okay. There's some extra income there, but how many people are buying?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for every one of me that is buying, there's 100 people that are reading and not buying,
Yeah. And everyone sees the story of that Jock Batman cover going,
oh my God,
29,000 or whatever it was.
280,000.
Was it that much?
Or 230,000, yeah.
Yeah. That's how out of touch I am. Yeah, what's the difference? But that's so rare, right? And it has to be an iconic piece. That's an iconic cover.
Yeah.
How much money is Jock getting for pages from Gone, or even Witches?
That's true.
It's a different kind of collector. Yeah, so that's hard. I think after public domain, anything I do after that, I'll probably do traditionally, just because I miss doing it.
Right.
I miss the feeling, and I think at that point I'll be kind of retired a little bit, so I can actually just take the time. I know, but I ain't young.
Nah.
I ain't young.
I got you. I got you.
My view of retirement is different than maybe other people. Like retirement means I'm not doing like 12 books a month. I'm doing like maybe I'm writing a thing for DC or Marvel, and maybe I'm just like noodling away on like I spend a week on a page for a graphic novel that will eventually come out.
Well, and yeah, when somebody's a writer and an artist or both or one or the other, it's like, yeah, you can only work yourself so much. But I talk to so many people and try, there is no one single solution. There isn't. There's,
No.
Have you thought about maybe even doing, I mean, I know a lot of your friends have done crowdfunded projects, Kickstarters and stuff like Ramon Perez has done a whole bunch. And is that something you would look at for future?
No. It's kind of the same issue as Zdarsky Comic News. There's like a whole side of it that I just don't want to do.
Yeah.
That I might be good at, but I just don't want to do it. I think it just takes away from me creating stuff. And I think the pressure of it and the anxiety of watching that number over a month, I don't think I could handle it. And especially just not being on any social media, I feel like I'd have to at that point because it's like an online thing where you kind of have to like really push people to go check out your LinkedIn, come up with all these freaking stretch goals. And like, yeah, I respect the hell out of everyone that does it. Like, I think it's a monumental undertaking every time. I just don't have the youth or the vigor to do it. Like,
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think it would kill me. And ultimately, I probably wouldn't make that much money on it because you kind of see it a little bit. Like there've been some high profile creators doing Kickstarters that normally don't do them, and you see the numbers on it. You're like, oh, okay. Like you're not just because you were big 10 years ago or wrote these characters doesn't necessarily translate to like $1 million on a Kickstarter. Some people are geared more towards comic shops and that experience, and I think maybe I'm one of those. So there's that element as well. Like I would, the chances are high I would fail publicly at a Kickstarter.
No.
I know people tell me no, like other people who do Kickstarter, like, oh no, you do fine, but I'm like, there's no guarantee, and it's always a surprise when someone doesn't do that well, and you're just like, oh, okay, it's a different environment.
Sure. Yeah. I think the one thing that you're extremely good at that I don't think you will say it out loud, but I'm happy to say it is like you are extremely good at marketing and promoting, and like you make a video you put it on YouTube, and your ridiculous trailer reactions have gotten 22 and like 18,000 views, and it's like
yeah, but I mean, again, I'm not on social media, and I was so fractured. I just don't think it's the case anymore. I think I was good at it. I think definitely from Sex Criminals up until a couple of years ago, I was pretty good at like marketing. Yeah. But now I'm just kind of siloed off. I'm just like, I do my Substack and I'll post a video once in a while, but like I don't think it has the reach as it once did.
Maybe not.
And like I like doing ZCN, like that's kind of my marketing now, and even that's still just great. We put out 15 to 20,000 copies of that a month, and hopefully a bunch of those end up in the hands of people that enjoy it. But I don't know. I'm not set for broad marketing anymore. It's just kind of very targeted towards kind of a small section of readers, which is fine. But I mean, we'll see. Maybe Cap will come out and it'll do really well, and I'll be like, oh, okay, actually, things are fine. Or maybe it won't do well. I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
I understand that, and I understand those feelings, and they are extremely valid. So, I'm not going to take away from that, but I will say,
and it's not even a woe is me thing. Like,
I know
bad feelings about any of it. I'm just like, okay, I'm just kind of looking at it from outside myself and being like, okay, yeah, this is what it could be, and this is what it probably is.
And we all think, no matter what we're doing, we all want our outputs to be successful, but the voice in the back of your head tells you, that's what no, or it's imposter syndrome sometimes.
Some things are just out of your hand. It's not even imposter syndrome for me. It's just like, I don't know if the market is going to support me doing this kind of book or that kind of book. I'm not the hot young thing. I don't know. Who knows? And it's not even like it's not a woe is me thing. It's just like, oh, okay, like very much like this is the period of my career, and we'll see if people are along for the ride. If there's some goodwill from the things I've done in the past, and yeah.
Well, my point of view when looking at your work, to me, it's like you're still in the prime. So I, like when I talk about my favorite current writers, you're in that conversation, and I share that with a lot of my viewers and friends. So, speaking of comic stores, I did want to plug this. You're going to be at Golden Age Collectibles.
Yes.
Is it next week or is it the week after, the 12th?
I think it's the week after the 12th. Yeah.
Yeah. Great shop up in Vancouver.
Yeah. I've signed there before. It's fantastic. I just found myself in Vancouver that day. I'm just like, well, why don't I do a signing? So yeah, I'm doing it. So yeah, come on out. Golden Age. Woo.
Yeah, one hell of a shop. And if it was just a tiny bit closer, I'm not saying that I'm not going to make the drive, but also Fantagraphics hot off the presses that weekend, and that's a lot closer to me than driving up across the border. Because who knows if the one thing is, if I go drive up to Canada and they don't let me back in, okay, I'll take the social health care.
There you go. Perfect plan.
So yeah, you got that coming up. Cap comes out. It's already out as this podcast exists. Yeah, so go grab your copy and then put it on your pull list. Tell your store, America, fuck yeah, by the Canadian. Exactly.
Woo.
Any convention appearances coming up this summer? You're going to be at San Diego or anything like that?
No, I'm in the woods, and I'm happy to be in the woods. I got nothing kind of planned. I think there might be some European ones coming up in the fall, but I don't have anything locked down yet. Yeah.
Maybe you'll be at Tokyo Comic Con?
There was some talk of that, but I don't know. Like I said, I did a couple years ago, so it might be too soon for me to do it again, but yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, the last time I did it, I was like on the promo on the guest list, I was right underneath the bus from Speed.
It was there again last year.
Was it there again last year? Yeah,
it was.
It must live in Tokyo. It must have retired to Tokyo.
I guess LA was too much for it.
But it was very funny to be like, oh, that's where I'm at in my career. I'm just below the bus from Speed for autographs and photos.
Well, like the top of that list for comic creators is going to be Peach. So yeah, you've got some gap.
Peach, bus from Speed, me.
Fine. Anything else to promote that we didn't touch on?
No, nothing I can talk about. That's the thing. I've got like a lot of big things kind of going on behind the scenes, but I can't talk about any of it. It's very frustrating.
Can you talk about your cameo in Fantastic Four? First steps?
I wish. Visiting the set was definitely a highlight of the year. That was a lot of fun. And Pedro's magnificent. He's my best friend now.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. No, it was cool to meet him and meet the cast and the crew and get the tour. Yeah. And it's been so hard just holding all the secrets in too. Like, there's a physical Herbie robot and it came out and greeted us. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it takes like 10 people to operate this thing, but it was very cool. The Fantastic Car was awesome. Baxter Building was amazing. It's all physical sets. Like, it's just, it's really spectacular. Yeah. The amount of care they put into all of this.
I'm looking forward to seeing you on screen get stepped on by Galactus in the first, second.
I wish. No, they didn't even ask me to do anything.
And you heard it here first. That Chip's going to get Pedro on my podcast, so that's great.
Just like that. Let me text him.
Yeah. It's just be like, there's this guy. Here's his number. Talk to him.
It has been my name drop over the past year. For sure. Like we were at a friend's house the other night playing like a board game, and someone's like, "Have you heard of Pedro Pascal?" And they're going on about Pedro Pascal. I was like, "Yeah, I met him. No big deal." It's like my big drop.
You show a photo of you and him, and he's just like, kind of like, no, yeah. Well,
I came this close to showing him my audition for Fantastic Four. The dumb video I did.
Yes,
it's telling everyone to get him a fucking rocket. But I decided to not do that and waste his time.
I could have been that real glue that kept the friendship together for decades.
I know. He could have been like, "You should be my best friend." I'm like, okay.
It's like, what's your name again?
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to give a plug to any stores that are watching this or anybody that, go to your local store and ask them to order Zdarsky Comic News. It's not just a funny thing. it is giving you real news and what's coming out. I really appreciate that you put this out, Chip, because
man,
I grew up reading Wizard and being told the hot books, and this makes me feel like I'm being told the hot books, but I'm in on the joke.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Awesome,
so thank you so much. And hopefully maybe we could do this every year. We could just do a Chip catch up.
Yeah, a little standing date. I love it.
Thanks for listening to that interview with me and Chip. I really enjoy chatting with him. He's very easy to talk to. He doesn't really pull too many punches. And, I think his honesty gives a real insight into what it's like being a comic creator for, trying to make a living. And he's been successful for the last 15 or so years. I mean, he's got his creator-owned award-winning, series with Mad Fraction, Sex Criminals. He did a great run on Daredevil and Batman, and now Captain America, plus other creator-owned books like Stillwater and New Burn, and currently he's doing Public Domain. And I could sit here and name them all, but I wouldn't be doing justice because I'd probably forget a few. If you wanted to ask me how I would start with reading his bibliography, I would start with Sex Criminals or Howard the Duck. Sex Criminals obviously is a little bit more for mature audiences, but Howard the Duck is definitely for everybody. But they're both just well written, well thought out, and extremely funny. And pick up the Captain America, like I said. Spider-Man Life Story is one of my favorites as well, so you can start there too. I hope that you really can dig into his work, because he's definitely one of those people that I will follow on whatever book he goes on. So before we get going, if you're not subscribed to my podcast, come on, what are you doing? I just gave you Chip Zdarsky for free. And it's available on Spotify. It's available on Apple, Amazon, YouTube. So follow it wherever you love your podcast. If you could rate it, review it, drop comments, do whatever, help me grow it, bring more interviews to my audience next week. Also, I hope you had a safe holiday weekend, and this is a way to kick your week back off into work, because nobody really wants to go to work, not even Jar Jar Binks. So next week, I'm bringing you an episode of just me. So enjoy that, and enjoy this, and enjoy all the things. Just enjoy life, all right? Listen, we ain't got a lot of time here on this planet. And if you're spending your time listening to me, then I appreciate you, and I'll try and give you back. See ya.